I was on this train, wasn't I? I was on this train. I'll take the mood down. I was on this train, I was struggling to go. My mum's dead, my dad's had a heart attack, I've had this stroke thing, so I can't drive. So I'm on the train trying to sort out my mother's funeral, and I wasn't coping very well. Because I was stressed as shit. I was on the phone to my agent telling her I wasn't coping very well. And and the reason I wasn't coping very well, right, is because I'm not saying I'm famous, but I'm in the public eye a little bit. And, you know, so I was on the train, and being in the public eye, on the whole, it's fine, you know, it makes life easier, really, most of the time. It's a couple of times you don't want to be in the public eye, one when you just had a whack in a canoe. And the other one is when you're on a train and you're grieving and your mum's dead and you're trying to sort out her funeral, and groups of pissed up lads want selfies. And they won't take no for an answer, right? Because most people are lovely and respectful and, you know, right, aren't they? And I'm a bit shy and awkward. Once you get past that, I'm actually very friendly and chatting. I like meeting people and, you know, do selfies all day long, whatever. I'm just a bit awkward, shy at the front, you know. And, but these guys, I was there on the phone to my agent, Tara, I was stressed. I wasn't coping, trying to sort out my mother's funeral. And these guys are going, "Hey, Ron, give us a selfie, mate, give us a selfie." And I was like, "Do you mind if I don't, lads? Just this once, I never normally say no, I'm on the phone and I'm trying to sort out my mother's funeral. Do you mind if I don't?" "Lift him up, lads!" Fucking lift him out, and I think, still on the phone, they're chucking a phone in your face. Come on, Ron, don't be shy. You're like, "Well, I am a bit shy, maybe you didn't see the documentary." I don't know. "Come on, Ron, I'm videoing you, it's my mother's birthday. Say happy birthday to my mother." You're like, "Oh, happy birthday, your mum. My mum's dead, I'm just trying to sort the funeral out." You are going to say hello to my kids, Ron, come on. I've got 3 kids, another one on the way. You're like, "Oh, great, we're not sure if we can have kids, but you have a great day." "Oh, come on, Ron, you miserable bastard, give us a smile, mate. You're bringing the mood up, you mate. Come on, give us a smile. Chin up. You're like, "Chin up, I've got a fucking stroke, what do you want from me?" So I wasn't coping very well. And I was still on the phone to my agent, and she was like, you know, she would hear what's going on. She said, "I think we should take you out of this situation and get you a driver for a bit." And I was like, "Yes, please." And that driver was John. It was a good shot. It was right thing. Incidentally, it was John's job to drive me to my mother's funeral, right? The day of my mother's funeral. He got off to a bad start. I'd been in, the night before, I'd been filming something with the BBC in Salford. They filmed loads of things there, right? I stayed in a hotel there. And I had a shit bad sleep the night before my mother's funeral. Partly because I had to get from Salford all the way to West Wales. I was a bit anxious about not making it on time, and then partly, and maybe if I'm honest, because outside my bedroom there was like a generator or an aircon unit making a fucking hell of a racket all night. So I recorded the sound, because that's the kind of petty bastard I am. I recorded the sound, not for my own entertainment, I recorded the sound so I could go down next morning and complain, right? I was going to kick off, I was going to go downstairs and go, "Listen to this shit, man! This is the noise in my room, could you sleep in this? I want to see the manager, it's my mother's funeral today, I haven't slept the fucking man, I want to hold my money back, I want to put up with this, put up with this shit." I did it in the end, I fell asleep and forgot about it. And then the next morning I was a bit tired and grumpy, you know, but we left, we didn't complain, I just got going. I got in the car with John, and John said, "Did you sleep okay?" And something you should know about John, he's a fixer. He's one of them men. You know the kind of men, I'm not being unfair, I think it's usually men. You know the kind of men who love a problem to solve, you know. "No, I'll sort this out." He loves a problem he can get his teeth into, does John, right? And he said, "Did you sleep okay?" And I said, "Not really, my room was too noisy." Ready for the fixer? Ready for John's innovative solution to a bad night's sleep? "John, try and sleep tonight, baby."
Well, you know.
Well, it's worth a shot, I'm desperate now, John. I'll try anything now. And he always came good in the end, though, the fixer. He always came good in the end. Like, he said, "What was the noise?" And I said, "Oh, it was like a high-pitched buzzing, a humming thing." I said, "You can hear it." "Here we go." I said, "This is it. This is the noise." He went, "Oh, God, that's horrible." I said, "I know it is, mate." He said, "Was that sure?" I said, "I know." He said, "No, you couldn't sleep." I said, "I know, mate, tell me about it." And then the fixer took this off me and he went, "There you go." fucking making me laugh. On the way to my own mother's funeral, the guilt. Have you ever been so kind of, you know, when you're in grief, you start having hysterics and laughing hysterically. It's a nervous reaction thing. He was making me do it all. On the way to my mum's funeral, he was making me laugh like you. Honestly, I was pissing myself like, you know, this was the worst bit of hysterics I had. I couldn't stop myself, right? Because there was a news report came on the radio, and it was a horrible story, right? It wasn't, it wasn't a funny story at all, right? It was a horrible story. It was a man's head in California on a beach somewhere in America. A man's head, just a severed head, had been found on the beach in California, and the police released some of the details about this head. Right? And one of the details the police released was that the head had shoulder-length hair. It's not supposed to be that funny yet, to be honest. And John said, how do they know we had shoulder-length hair? And I was like, it's amazing what these forensics can do these days, John. Amazing how forensic science is moving. He was zipped up in a sports bag, right, which John thought was suspicious. That was another thing. That's suspicious. How he had zipped himself into the bag. This is the bit that got him, right? This is the bit that blew John's mind. That I was watching his face in the rearview mirror. I was watching the pain on his face, trying to work out how this had happened. Right, and it was clumsy wording. It was unfortunate in the news report. Unfortunate wording, I'll give you that. But the corpse's feet had been found, right? And I quote, a short walk down the beach. Watching John's face trying to work out these feet without the bag. At the end it said the police are looking at the missing persons database, and John went, there's no point looking on there, he's not going to be on that. He's in the bag. He's not missing, he's in the bag. Come on, out you come, we're looking here. Come on. Get your feet, we're going on.
Okay.
You're making me laugh like a monkey. On the way to my own mother's, for about 3 minutes. For about 3 minutes, then he pissed me off again. He pissed me off again 3 minutes later. Something else you should know about John, he couldn't drive. That's the other thing. He could operate a vehicle, technically he knew what to do and stuff, but he had no sense of direction. He couldn't use his sat-nav, so he was fucking useless. He used to get us lost. Every day he got us lost, and I just put up with it. I don't even know why looking back, but not today, right? It's my mother's funeral. I want to get there in good time, sort things out, right? And he's getting this later and later, and getting more stressed and more agitated, and then he wants to stop for another coffee, and he's had 400 already this morning, and we haven't really got time to stop again, but he's an adult, I can't stop him. Right, so I thought I'd stay in the car and he can go in the services. And I lost my temper with him completely, and I'm not proud of it, but I think once you hear the conversation I had to put up with, you probably understand why I lost my temper, right? So that's the context. We haven't really got time to go for a coffee. He wants to go in, he's going in, I'm going to stay in the car, right? This is the conversation I had to put up with. John, are you coming in, Rod? We're running quite late now, John, and I know it's a bit of a pain, but I'd quite like to catch the tail end of my mother's funeral if I can. See, some of you picked up on the sarcasm, that's good. I thought John might take the hint, absolutely not. John, okay, Rod, no problem. Do you want a coffee? He said, yeah, fine, if you're having one, I'll have one, fine, okay. Shall I get him to take away, Rod? Yeah, get him to take away, John, because I'm staying in the car. Ingenious, get him to take away. Okay, Rod, no problem. Do you want anything to eat? He said, yeah, great, anything will do, brilliant. Okay, he said, what do you want? I said, I don't mind it, Chris, flapjack, anything, whatever they've got. He said, which one do you want? I said, I don't mind it, I'm 50-50. I'll have the flapjack. Then he said this, he went, all those granola bars are nice. I went, fine, I'll have a granola bar. He said, what have they got on here? I said, we haven't got fucking time for this. That's the point of offering me a granola bar. If you're not sure, they've fucking got it. They haven't got a granola bar, John. I will revert to plan A, a flapjack. What if they haven't got any flapjacks? I said, well, I have nothing. What a pissing pan of chocolate, cocky chocolate, cocky chip, cocky, you don't give a shit. Just get something. Shall I get that to take away as well, John? No, get the coffee to take away, John, and I'll drink it on the way to my mother's funeral, but leave the flapjack in there, and I'll have it on the fucking way back. Alright, you're the boss, it's not about me. We drove on in silence for a bit. We drove on in silence for 1 hour with me calming down. And then I did calm down. I was just reflecting on life. You know what you do on the way to a funeral. Not feeling sorry for myself. I've got a wonderful, wonderful life. I couldn't be happier. I'm very lucky, you know. And I was just thinking about life, you know. And John asked me if I was okay. I told him I was feeling a bit weird on the way to my mum's funeral. I told him about the stroke thing hanging over me, the fact they never found out what it was. And John went, oh, I know exactly what you mean. And I was like, what are you talking about? He said, your stroke thing. He said, I had something very similar. And I was like, what are you talking? You never mentioned this. We've talked about, is that why you were so interested in my stroke? And he said, I said, when was this? I said, when was this? Thinking he'd say 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. He went, oh, must be 6 months ago now. I said, what was it? He said, I don't know. No idea. I said, what did they say? He said, I didn't go and see anybody. Driving's my living. I'm doing about 70 miles an hour at this point. I said, driving's my living. I was going to take my license off if they found out. I was sitting in the back going, hello! Anybody out there? Look, I was watching his face in the rearview mirror because any second now the penny's going to drop, isn't it? The penny's going to drop. And he's suddenly going to realise the irony that I'm paying him to drive me because I'm having a stroke and he's had the same fucking thing. Nothing, he just carries on driving. Completely, simply who was when they take my license off me, man. I'm not telling him. I said, John, pull over. Obviously, I said, even now he makes me laugh, right? Even now he makes me laugh because I said, John, pull over, you can't drive anymore. This is what he said. I can, I'm fine. Nobody knows. I said, it doesn't matter who knows. The fact stands, you matter, there's no knows, mate. I said, pull over, I'm going to drive. I said, I'm going to take over the driving, right? And he said, you can't drive, you're not allowed. I thought it was a bit rich, right? He said, you can't drive, you're not allowed. I said, seeing as we're sharing, John, actually I am allowed to drive because I haven't told you this, but seeing as we're sharing, I've now had all my test results back and they don't know what caused my stroke, but they know there's no permanent damage. There's a mini stroke, there's no permanent damage to the structure of my brain, so I am allowed to drive again. Right? Which was absolutely true. And this is the only intelligent thing John has ever said to me, I think. He said, if you're allowed to drive again, why are you still paying me to drive you? And I was angry at the time, I just wanted to hit. I said, because I'm getting a shitload of material out of you, I didn't mean it, I felt awful, I felt like shit. I didn't mean it. But it did make me think, what am I doing? Why am I still paying him to drive me when I don't need him to, you know? And I thought about it for a few minutes and I came to the very strange conclusion that I must quite like him. Friends is far too strong a word, and he gets on my tits like nobody I've ever met. But I thought weirdly, sort of weirdly got me through this difficult period and we've become like weird little, I don't know, it's going to be odd couple thing, you know. And I could see that he was scared as well. That was the other thing, right? I was trying to reassure him. I could see the reason he hadn't been to see anybody about this episode is because he was scared of what he'd find out, basically. But I was trying to reassure him, you know. And I said, look, John, I'm sure you need to get this checked out, but I'm sure you'll be okay. I'm okay. And if it's the same thing as I've had, it stands to reason you'll be all right. And he went, yeah, but I'm not sure if it was the same as yours. And I went, well, it sounds like it. It was all concentrated on one side of your body. You know, there's no obvious permanent brain damage, is there? And he went, yeah, but the thing is... I was like, oh. I said, what is it? What is the thing? And he went, well, I don't know whether I should tell you this, but I've been having blackouts. Pull over! Obviously I got him to pull over, right? Obviously. I was fuming. I got him to pull over, obviously. I went furious with him. Even now he makes me laugh. Even now, right? I'm fucking furious with him because what happened? This is what happened. We stopped at the services, the next one. Right? I kicked him out. I get out to the back. I get in the front, put my seatbelt on, ready to drive. He goes to get in the fucking back. Like, you know, I'm paying his 300 quid a day. I'm just trying to find out to drive you. You're not sitting in the back, you prick. His feet up reading the paper. Get in the fucking front. So I put him in the front. I drove to my mother's funeral. It was all fine. Everything was fine. We went off without a hitch. You know, we got there on time. It was all fine. And then after the funeral, there's a few drinks, you know, as you do, and except that I didn't touch a drop, because at 11:30 that night, when it was all over, I had to drive John home to fucking Reading. About 3.5 hours. Yeah. I couldn't let him drive, could I? I wasn't going to leave him in, I wasn't going to let him stay with us. But to be honest, I didn't really mind. It's quite nice to get away and clear your head sometimes after a funeral, isn't it, you know. And I felt quite close to him at this point. I realised we had like a weird bond, you know, strange little bond, you know, because of this stroke thing hanging over us. So I said to him, John, I'm not going to use any of that material, mate. You know. And at the time, in my defence, I didn't have any gigs planned, so I meant it, right? And this is typical John. He went, I don't care, do what you want, you can use it, I'll never see it. That's what he was like, that's typical. But the next thing he said really surprised me, because he said you can use it as long as you give some of the proceeds, if you tour or do anything like that, you give some of the proceeds to charity, right? Which surprised me, because he's never shown a charitable bone in his body as far as I can see. But we discussed it, right? I thought it was quite a nice idea, we discussed it. We thought the Stroke Association, that's an obvious one for both of us, right? And then I wanted to do something for Alzheimer's, my mum obviously, and then there's a few others that we're supporting on this tour as well. And if you want Just Giving, you'll see in my name there's various ones set up, and if you want to chuck them a few pennies, or the Alzheimer's Society are here tonight, if you want to chuck them anything in small change, that'll be absolutely wonderful. But we're also giving, thanks to fucking John, we're going to give some of the proceeds of the tour as well. 2:30 in the morning, right? John said, how much are you going to give then? I was like, what? He said, to charity, how much are you going to give? And I said, I don't know, mate, I haven't thought about it. He was like, think about it now. Maybe it's 2:30 in the morning, this is my mother's funeral, we have a morning chat. I was like, you was thinking about it now? I was like, I don't know, all right, I'll tell you what, let's sit down and discuss percentages. I got really good. His last words, right? I knew this. His last words to me, John, as I dropped him off at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, his wife was there, and his last words were either quite beautiful and profound, and poetic and philosophical, or thick as shit. I'll leave you decide, because I can't make up my mind, right? Because I dropped him off and I said, John, you've got to get yourself checked out. That's the priority, get yourself checked out. But if you're still driving, you know, and I need a driver one day, then maybe we could work together again. I said, after all, John, you know, nobody can predict the future. And John went, no, nor the past. It's not quite the last time I saw him, right? I'll leave you with it. I will leave you with this. This is the last. I've seen him once since, right? One spell, one appearances. I'll leave you with this. So I fast forward to 2018, last year, right? And I'm doing this documentary called Shyness, Social Anxiety that I've mentioned a few times. And filming in TV sometimes can be very long filming days, right? You can be filming 14 hours a day, 16 hours a day, 18 hours a day sometimes. So I thought I'd get myself a driver. I'd make life a bit easier, I'll treat myself. And then I thought, well, let's ring John, let's see what John's up to. So I rang John, and I spoke to his wife, and we had a very long conversation, very short. I found out that John, he's had it all checked out, he's had a mini stroke, but they found out with him that it's caused by an irregular heartbeat, right? He's got something called an atrial fibrillation, which can cause dizzy spells, hence the blackouts, and his wife tells me he's lost his job, right? And he's no longer a chauffeur, he's not allowed to drive, he's lost his private hire license, blah, blah. And I felt like shit, she's telling me this, and I'm on the phone, and I'm running up to ask him to drive me, and now I don't know what to say because he can't drive anymore. And then his wife, I just felt like I put my foot in it, you know, his wife asked me why I was ringing, and I panicked. I totally panicked. I said, oh, no reason, I've just got this documentary coming up, right? I mean, I'm driving, I just wondered if John wanted to come along for the crack. Before I could take the offer back, he says yes, right? So off we fucking go again, back on the road to Paris, with me driving him now for no fucking reason whatsoever. I'm working 16 hours a day on this documentary, then driving this breakdown. He's got nothing to do with it. He doesn't appear in the documentary, he's got nothing to do with it whatsoever. And I wasn't even sure whether to do this documentary, because it's not exactly a cool thing to admit that you suffer from social anxiety, is it? But like everything, the truth is always better out than anything, always. And I'm glad I did it, right? But if you saw it or if you didn't see it, it doesn't matter. I was talking about shyness, right? And shyness is a weird thing to talk about. It's a vague idea, isn't it? What does it even mean? Who can define it? How do you describe it? Who's shy, who isn't shy? Some of us are, sometimes some of us aren't. And so I went to see a neuroscientist, right, to see if I could put any science on it, any scientific evidence behind shyness, social anxiety. So I went to see this neuroscientist in Harley Street in London. This guy spent his life studying the brain, and he put this EEG scanning machine on my head, and my brain waves come up on his computer screen, and they're all dancing around. And I said, so can you see, I asked him, can you see that I'm shy from looking at that screen? And he said, no, I can't. Right? But I wouldn't expect to be able to. If you were anxious now, I could see it. But you don't seem to be anxious now, so I can't see it. He said also, if you were very extroverted, very confident, very outgoing, I could probably tell by looking at the pattern of your brainwaves. He said, but you're not. You don't fall into that category. I'm very confident, right? And so it's my first serious documentary. I've still got this bloody thing on my head. It's my first serious thing I've ever done. So I sort of turned to the camera. I went a bit over the top BBC presenter. I sort of turned to the camera and said, so there we have it. So, and there we have it. You can't tell that somebody's shy just from looking at the brain. This neuroscientist nudged me and he went, I don't know if you want to get this on camera, but I can tell you you've got ADHD and possibly dyslexia. What are you talking about? I mean, popped in for shyness, you prick. What the fuck you want? This is a one-off documentary, not a 6-part fucking series about my brain. I'm just a bit fucking shy. What the fuck are you dyslexic? What the fuck are you on about? Don't get me wrong, 50 years of my life fell into place in that moment.